Hello and welcome. Tonight we have an original scary story written for this channel alone about the world of delivery services. Let's take a horrifying walk in a day in the life of a food delivery person. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's get into it. When the 2023 recession hit and jobs began to disappear, including my own, I felt a sense of hair-pulling-out desperation settle over me. At the first of the month, inch closer and closer, I obsessively planned how to get rent money and fast. Fortunately, I had a car, and I knew about those food delivery services and that they paid fast. I decided to give one a try, as with the promise of extra cash and flexible hours, I could still hunt for a steadier job in the meantime. It seemed like the perfect solution. Plus, I liked the idea of driving around in my own car with music blasting and the heat on full power. I downloaded the app, and within days I passed the background test. As I readied myself to start driving, my survival brain quickly reminded me of the risks that come with driving for a living. Even with the money and independence, this occupation was not without danger. As a small female, the fear of being attacked or robbed was always lurking in the back of my mind, not to mention the risk of people simply not paying attention on the roads and ramming into me. But I was desperate. I resolved to push forward, knowing that success would bring me the rent money I needed. I loved driving my car, but I didn't want to live in it. However, in the end, what I didn't know was myself, and what doing this type of work under this much stress would do to me. On my first time out as a driver, it was Friday night in March, which meant that it was still winter here in Minnesota. I decided to drive during peak hours, as the app prompted me that this would be the most profitable time to deliver. As I ventured out into the snow, my fears started to creep in, as the fluctuation in temperature this time of year meant that snow melted during the day, but then turned into ice in the evening, which meant the roads were slippery, and the visibility was low because it was still snowing. But it also meant that people were ordering food more because they didn't want to go out in this weather themselves. I drove cautiously, but I soon found out something I always knew but didn't think about when I started driving in the city. In order to drop off the food, I had to park in places that weren't exactly proper parking places, such as down an alley, or I would have to park in a designated parking spot, but consistently paying for parking in the city would really eat into my earnings, so I risked that I would be back before anyone noticed. I was getting anxious and scared that I would get a ticket, or worse, I would return from a delivery to find my car, my only source of income, gone. Often, I had to hike up to customer apartment doors to deliver their food, which meant I left my car alone for long periods of time, and that led me to obsessively make sure I had locked my doors. Then, not everyone took care of their walkways, which meant every time I had to walk up the cement stairs, my heart raced that I might slip and fall, and I certainly didn't need a medical bill on top of my current situation. Needless to say, there were a lot of things about delivering food that I did not think about. It was only 2 hours into my first day, but it already felt like the shift was never going to end. When I finally was done, I scrolled through the app to figure out my pay, and my heart sank. For 3 hours of city driving in the snow, I had only made $36.42. And of that, At least 10 would go to gas. I checked out the details section of the app to look order by order and see how this possibly could have happened. And that's when I saw it. Most of the orders had no tip at all. I had worked so hard for those deliveries, getting out of my car in the freezing snow, hiking up apartment stairs. I felt a burning rage build inside of me as I looked at the names and addresses of all the people who had not bothered to show a token of appreciation for my hard work. My stomach churned, and a feeling of being used and underappreciated by those who could easily afford to tip radiated through my body. If this is what I made during peak hours, I was never going to make ends meet. By this time, it was around 10 p.m. at night, and a new idea popped into my head. I realized that I did have the names and addresses, both in my app and saved in my Google Maps, of everyone I delivered to. I knew who didn't tip and where they lived. I even saw the inside of some of the places when people opened their doors to accept their orders. Knowing that these people didn't even bother to tip helped alleviate any guilt I might feel about what I had to do next. I decided to return to those addresses and get my tips another way. Thank you so much for listening. If you enjoyed the story, please hit that like button and subscribe. And remember, always tip your drivers and delivery people. There are some lists you want to stay off of.